I was thinking of the Geico Gecko.
That'd be crazy if that came out huge.
Yeah.
He's all British and shit.
Yeah. Like, blimey. Blimey, how about that insurance? He destroys a building. He's like, hope you had renter's insurance, oi? That's British.
God. I like it. I think you might be the new face of Geico. In your Gecko form.
Geico.
Australian for beer.
Here comes the theme.
Hello and welcome to the Critical Breakdown, the podcast where we started at the bottom of Rotten Tomatoes and we've worked our way up to 100% fresh. They call me Max.
And I'm Scott. And today we're talking Ghostbusters, rated 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. And it's Max's pick.
Yes, it is.
So Max, take it away.
All right. Ghostbusters is a film. No, I picked this one because it is a classic.
Yeah.
In the most literal sense. People love this one.
Yep.
There's always fans dressing up at it at events. There's little kids who still dress up at it. There's adults who dress up as this. And
there's in-betweens
There's in-betweens. There's
like
quotes
this.
from it. There's been cartoons. There's been toys.
There's been remakes.
Remakes and reboots and what have you. There's all sorts of like fandom, like podcasts and collectors based on this. So it's a big one.
It's got a very iconic style.
Yes. And it has like 4 comedy giants in it. It has multiple, classic quotable moments. And it's just well known, well beloved. So when you hit one of these babies, you got to go for it. So.
Yeah, Ghostbusters is well known enough that we don't have to qualify it. People are like, Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
What?
Like if everything I just said was a surprise to you, you probably just don't even know what movies are. So
there are comedy giants.
Yeah. But so I remember watching Ghostbusters a bunch as a kid, and I even saw Ghostbusters 2 in theaters.
Yeah.
Because that one was later in the 80s. And that one's more of a pure comedy children's film with a couple horror elements worked in. And this one, I think, is more of a kind of a horror film design in the dressings of a comedy film.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think this is the first time as an adult that I've seen this movie in one sitting.
Yeah.
And I went to the Airsley Grand Cinema's retro horror screening of Ghostbusters.
Nice.
So I saw it on the big screen.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I actually caught a movie there last night.
No way.
Yes.
What are the odds?
I watched the original Suspiria.
Oh, nice. The remake also came out this week.
Yeah. So I was saying this is like one of the few weekends where you could walk around and tell someone, I want to see Halloween and Suspiria, and because of this retro showing, you might mean the originals or you might mean the new ones.
That's
of course,
right.
that doesn't mean the new ones are necessarily playing at the same time in the same theater, but this weekend in our town, you could be confused by that. So that's kind of cool. So
yeah,
it's fun.
That's why you saw it, right? Yeah. So that you could say, I saw Suspiria, and people are like, oh, it's already out. And you're like, the original.
It's been out for 40 years. Yeah, so.
I like the way you said 40 years.
40 years! Yeah,
it's like you're an old fisherman.
Yeah.
I feel like would say that.
Yeah.
I've been on these seas for 40 years. Something like that.
That's fair.
How did you like it? I know you've seen or tried to seen it before.
Yeah, I tried to seen it before. It was, it's not, like when you hear, horror classic, you usually think, your slasher film where teens are making out and someone's getting stabbed every 5 minutes. Like when we watched
the cliche.
When we watched the very cliched Friday the 13th, it was very exciting to watch because you were on the edge of your seat. Even though it's not a great movie, it's a fun watch, because it keeps you scared the whole time. Yeah. This one takes its time to build suspense. It's a little bit slower moving.
It's less of a true horror movie, I would say.
It's there's a lot of horror in it. It's very psychological thriller also, and kind of just a mind movie. But the music's amazing. So the music keeps you moving, and the music actually I think does as much work as everything else to tell you to be scared.
Yeah. I feel like that's half of a horror movie. The music does a lot of the...
You want to set the scene.
Yeah, it does a lot of the telling.
Yeah. So this music's amazing, and it's very much like a very kind of Euro feeling movie. Yeah. And it's directed by Dario Argento. And the colors are amazing.
He's an Italian horror director, classic, right?
The composition of the shots are really good, and there's a lot of good in it. I'll say I like all the individual pieces. Now that I've seen it all the way through, the ending I loved. I loved the ending, but The individual pieces together are great, but as a complete set, it's not like my favorite film ever made or anything.
Yeah, it's one of those like auteur films that people really enjoy, like art house, old school.
Yeah,
has a lot of the, like you're saying, the elements that stand out. And make it memorable. But I don't think I'll watch the original. I don't think I'll watch the remake. It's a little scary.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd be less scared in the original versus the remake just from the trailers. But
I still think I'll be scared.
Scary is always subjective because there's a lot of things where people will say it's scary and I don't find it scary, and there's a lot of things that people say aren't scary and you might find it scary. And
tomorrow is Halloween.
Yeah.
So boo. Gotcha. That's undeniably scary.
Yeah.
And well, you know what? We'll do a little extra scares next week. Keep the Halloween energy moving.
Just keep that aura glowing.
I've been watching something that I consider a little scary.
Ooh, tell me.
I've been watching a lot of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Why is that scary?
I relate a lot to Larry David, but I also recognize that he's like kind of an ass in the show. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. He's very much an ass. But like almost every point he ever makes, I kind of agree with.
Okay.
I've never watched Curb. I'm a big Seinfeld fan.
Gotcha. Yeah. I've seen like Curb highlight reels, but I've never watched it myself.
The humor is very different, which surprised me.
Yeah.
The writing is just incredible, though. Like there's some lines that just still stand out to me and make me crack up.
From what I've seen, it looks always like he's not afraid to make himself.
Yeah.
Like you said, the asshole.
Yeah,
or
that's
the butt
exactly
of the joke.
what it is.
Like a lot of it focuses on that, which I like that from the clips I've seen.
Yeah.
So.
No, there was an episode I was watching the other day where a guy cut in line at the buffet, and it was a guy that Larry had already wronged. Mm-hmm. And the whole line at the buffet was like yelling at this guy, but Larry wanted to be like a good guy in this guy's eyes. So he stood up for him and he's like, this is this man's second plate. He already waited in the line. He's just getting his seconds. He's going to be out in just a second. And he made this like big impassioned speech. And then everybody was like, sorry, you're right. It's just your second plate. They all apologized to him. But Larry actually like disagreed fundamentally with what he was saying. He was only defending him because of the earlier slight against him. It was very funny. There's a lot of funny situations.
It's almost like
like a situational comedy.
Oh, for sure. But it's it sounds like everyone has that voice in their back of their head telling them to be the a-hole when you're in a situation like that.
Yeah.
And it seems like the show's embracing that.
Well, yeah, that's Larry's character is the a-hole in the back of your head.
Yeah. That's always fun.
Yeah.
I gotta say.
Yeah. So the fact that I relate to it so much is a little like it gives me some mixed feelings.
Yeah.
Because like Larry is both the protagonist and the antagonist of the show.
But I think for a lot of people, we recognize that in ourselves. Yeah. So I don't think it's outlandish for you to notice that, is what I'm saying. So
all right, okay. Then I'm not as afraid anymore.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I've been watching Parks and Rec still.
Yeah.
Still on season 2, just taking my time, having a good time watching it.
You've been watching The Office as well.
Yeah, we get The Office going. That's Jodie's show that she puts on. I put on Parks and Rec. We just switch off.
Fight over the remote.
No, not really.
This would be where like Netflix needs like a playlist or something,
right? Yeah, that and the shuffle idea.
The shuffle, I put playlist above shuffle personally.
Well, you have my list, but I don't think it autoplays.
No, it won't autoplay through my. Like I want to queue up an Office episode, then a Parks and Rec, then an Office, then a Parks and Rec.
Like pick like a couple seasons of a show you want to watch in sequential order, but mixed. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah. They call it like the lineup or something.
Yeah.
So.
Or you can just tune into NBC.
Yeah.
Thursday night comedy.
Must see TV.
NB must see.
Anyway, what you said made me think of something. I've heard people before, because no way am I the inventor of this concept, but I've heard people describe Parks and Rec. If you take, like, your personality is usually a mixture of any two characters on the show.
Yeah.
And it always has to be two. And you can just pick two, and it kind of creates people. They're so archetypal. Yeah. So
what are you?
I am Ben and April.
Ben and April? Okay.
Yeah.
What am I?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it too much. But,
yes, you have.
No, I haven't, honestly.
I could see it on your face.
Because, let's see. I could see some Ben in you as well. But then I don't know where else to take you. Well, I don't know what your other half would be.
Yeah. It would probably either be Ron or Andy.
Yeah, I could see elements of both. Like for our friend and former guest, Taylor, he said his was Jerry and Andy, and I couldn't stop laughing at that. And then I could see like our friend Joe being like Andy and Ron, or see, he's kind of unique because he's also nerdy, so there could be some elements of Ben there too. But Jody said she was Donna and Leslie, and I agreed with that one completely.
Yeah, my sister Sarah would be Leslie, and maybe Ben.
Yeah, that's a good combo for her. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like you can find.
If I had to say, I'd be Ben and Dennis Feinstein.
Well, I was gonna say I could also see. I could see
John Ralph,
tiny elements of Tom Haverford with you sometimes.
Yes.
Not all the time.
Do you mean like my innovative podcast ideas?
Yes. Your pitches. You're always pitching things to me. So
I got run over by a Lexus.
So with you, we'll have to nail it down a little bit further because I think you're just.
You know what? I'll watch the whole show.
Yeah.
And I'll give us rankings. I'll give us the P&R, the Parks and Rec Power Rankings.
Yeah, so, been enjoying that.
Yeah.
It's always good to rewatch an old classic.
For sure.
We've also been working further in the CNN documentary series, The Nanettis.
Yeah, I stopped.
I get it, man.
They got to real stuff and I wasn't into it.
The politics episode's a little...
Yeah.
It's a little more nuanced, and then they get to a terrorism episode that's fucking depressing.
Great.
For the Nanettis to be that depressing, it's not good.
You know what? The Nanettis, we look back with glasses of a rose tint.
Yeah.
And, it's not all...
Well, they do...
it's not all roses.
They do like a morbid hindsight is 2020 kind of thing because they talk about... it starts off with right-wing terrorism, which obviously, we're hearing on the news now. And then they go into the early makings of Al-Qaeda with their first World Trade Center bombing in like the early 90s. Yeah. And then it goes through how like we got... within like 10 feet of bombing Osama bin Laden. And they just hit out like a bunch of depressing things. But then it ends with school shooting terrorism. And it's like, that is the most depressing thing you can end on. Yeah, exactly. They hit Columbine. And then it's like...
I believe Columbine was on my birthday.
Oh, that's even more depressing.
Yeah. So now I
hope it wasn't another mad that, the TV program wasn't what you were expecting moment. But...
I told that to you in America in confidence.
Anyway, I hope, I think after that there's an internet episode, or right before it was an internet episode, and that one was a lot happier to watch, but man, was that other one depressing. So
it's tough because like those first 2 episodes about TV or so, and then the music episode, it's like, this is so much fun.
But I mean, it kind of does make sense.
And then Bill Clinton, it's like, this is still a little fun.
Yeah, it's like,
and then
I remember this.
Yeah. And then it's like, Yugoslavia fell, and it's like, this isn't as fun.
It's weird because it's for us growing up in the 90s. It's a lot like growing up in that sense. So it's almost like you're actually reliving it. Yeah. So I could see why for some people it's like, oh, wait a second, that's super depressing, like me. So, but no, I'm going to continue watching it. I think I only have a little bit left. So I'll just wrap that up.
Yeah. Right on, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of John Ralphio.
Ooh.
I think you've got a pitch for us this week. That was bad.
Yeah. I mean, the obvious pivot should have been, speaking of the 90s.
All right, man.
All right, so intro the 90s segment for us?
Yes, sir. Every week, Max and I alternate pitching our new podcast idea. We're at 97%. We have less than 10 episodes left, people. Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
What are we going to do next? We can't... the whole started from the bottom, we're 100%. That's rote.
That's Drake.
It's time for us to write a new idea. And Max has 90 seconds uninterrupted on the clock. I actually will leave the room. I don't even want to hear it. And then I will ask questions about it.
That sounds good to me, Scott.
All right, Max, you got 90 seconds starting now.
All right, break clowns. This is improvise this. So, what do you always hear comedians talking about? They talk about when they started. They either started on the stage or they started in improv clubs. So, me and Scott always debate whether or not we're actual comedians or, we're funny guys, but we need to really define this. So, instead of joining an improv program, improvise this is me and Scott starting our own improv studio. But here's the catch. We don't understand improv We've never ran improv, so we got to figure it out. So we're improvising improv classes. And our goal is to convince everyone that we're improv masters, that we're classically trained in improv. So we'll begin each. The first episode will be like our first class, or maybe 2 classes or something. And we'll just have to record it and figure our way through it. And the audience will be aware that we don't know, but our actual students, they won't know. They'll sign on thinking they're getting lessons and how to do it, and we'll have different segments and showcases to test their abilities. And for us, the real test is whether or not these people are able to improv based off our own skill at improving, being improv masters. So when you look at it, it's really just an exercise in improvisation, and that's Improvise This, the new podcast coming to you from the Critical Breakdown.
I'm going to have to stop you right there. And I know you had another 20 seconds.
Yeah, I could go on for like 20 minutes, man.
It really sounded like you were improvising.
Well, that's the glory then, isn't it?
What I love about that idea, Max, is the element of fraud. Because I thought it was just going to be us like learning improv, but then we're actually going to have people sign up for this class.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so I was thinking at first, when I first thought of it, I was like, we could learn improv and record that, but what's better than that? Why don't we teach improv? And since we don't know how to teach it, we're improvising.
It's actually going to be the truest form of improv.
Yeah. It's distilled down to its most basic element, fraud.
Well, I only have one thing to say about improvise this. Improvise that? What was it?
Improvise this.
Improvise this. Was it analyze this or analyze that? My response is yes, and...
Nice.
It's an improv thing, everybody. You'll learn it in episode 1.
Yeah. Our first episode will be called Yes, and...
Yeah. And you can check out all of our podcast ideas at thecriticalbreakdown.com/Piper. PIPR.
Send me that content and I'll get it up there.
We're now up to... That was a weird laugh I just did. What are we on? 6 ideas now we've had?
I think so.
I've had Farm to Table Toast, This American Fife, and I don't even remember the greeting card name.
Yeah.
You've had Take It to the Limit.
Mm-hmm.
You've had what was one of the
Crowdsource Love,
and Improvise That. Improvise This.
Come on, man, get it right.
I'm sorry, it could be this, that, or the other.
There we go. There's that improv skill.
Well, everybody keep those ideas on your mind, and then Parks and Rec, kind of a comfort blanket show. Ghostbusters, kind of a comfort blanket movie. Yeah,
a lot of people. This is their go-to, fun 80s film.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what's the plot synopsis for Ghostbusters? While I unzip this hoodie.
3 former parapsychology professors set up shop as a unique ghost removal service, and then they hire another dude to help them.
Yeah. Well, you gotta. They have 2 other people on staff.
No, I know. So originally, that was going to be Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
And it was going to be a more substantial role.
Yeah.
But yeah, Eddie wanted an even more substantial role, is what I understand. He wanted to be equal to them in every way. Yeah. And for some reason, it just didn't work out.
I could see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have worked fine with Eddie and him being with them the entire time. It would have added more to the film, honestly.
Yeah.
But, I like Ernie Hudson in the movie.
Yeah, he doesn't add much.
But he's just kind of an everyman with a couple everyman comments. And
does he have a bigger role in the second movie?
Yeah, because he's there the whole time.
Yeah.
And I know him and Dan Aykroyd are teamed up together in the beginning and the sequel. For me, watching this one again was good because I used to watch these a lot as a kid, like I said, and so sometimes I get parts of them confused together.
Yeah.
So when I watch it again, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this one's a lot different than the sequel, because the sequel's, like we said, more goofy.
Right. But I haven't ever seen the sequel.
That's fair. It's on Prime right now, streaming free, so you can just grab it.
Maybe
sometimes.
I'll check it out.
Yeah,
maybe
it's a good background one. If you're cleaning your house, just watch it. Get a couple chuckles.
Couple chuckles. That could be the name of our improv podcast. Couple chuckles. We're a couple of chuckles.
What if it's we're an improv class, but we're also doing couples therapy?
Oh,
God, that would be messed up.
Yeah.
All right. No, Ghostbusters is.
Well, that's our show.
Ghostbusters. It's filmed in a cool way. It has a very much like a kind of horror look to it. A lot of contrast in the photo quality, a lot of grain from the film.
Very grainy in a good way.
Yeah, quite a few handheld shots at the beginning. Before that was ever like a cool thing, it was just what horror movies do. Usually because it's you're just running and gunning with the film. So a lot of elements in there. You could tell they really went in with that thought process of make this authentic. And apparently the original script was a lot darker, a lot more adult. But then when they started doing more conceptual stuff, the kids were really getting excited about it. So they realized, okay, this needs to be a little bit more friendly. So they wrote it down some. Yeah. I was reading Chevy Chase was interested in playing Venkman, Bill Murray's character.
I could see this era Chevy Chase working.
Well, it's funny with that, but I'll get to that in a second. Why it's funny you say that. He, I guess, backed away from the project because it got too family friendly and he wanted it to be more adult.
Okay.
So then he lost interest. But Bill Murray is the person they kind of brought on to replace the Chevy Chase type in SNL when it started.
Oh, okay.
Chevy is notoriously hard to work with.
Yeah.
Very much. It's been on the record. There's articles about it, stories about it. A lot of people like him, but then at the same time they hate working with him.
Yeah.
So
they respect him.
Yeah, and he'll be the first to admit that he knows he's difficult.
What's your favorite Chevy Chase work?
I do like the Vacation series. But honestly, it's
about Funny Farm.
I think I've seen Funny Farm. Oh. But I'd probably I'd lean Vacation. Is where I'd go.
Right on.
I'd have to really look at his list again because it's
like You Can Call Me Al. Music video.
Yeah, that might be his finest work.
That's his finest work.
But
anyways.
Yeah, so Bill Murray obviously is in this film and is kind of iconic in this film. Most people love his character.
It's one of his most well-known roles, probably. What's interesting is like Ivan Reitman, Harold Ramis, they don't have a background of being adult, right, comedy per se, but they don't have like a background doing like children's stuff. So it's interesting that that's the direction they chose to go. Ivan Reitman did Twins. He did Kindergarten Cop. That was both after this. Did he direct Stripes? Because I know Harold Ramis wrote it.
Yeah.
But regardless, and then Harold Ramis, he did Caddyshack, Groundhog Day, Stripes. So it's just not the direction I would expect. I can see them going for a darker turn here. And this isn't like a dark movie per se, but there's the blowjob joke in this, and I feel like that is more in line with their work than swinging towards a children / family angle.
I typically, when I think of their humor, I do think of more gross out stuff. And then when you think of a movie like Year One that they did more recently, it's a decent amount of those kind of jokes. Not a good film by any means.
The movie was a turd.
I enjoy watching it, but I don't think it's good.
I saw Year One in a double showing with The Proposal, starring Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds, and The Proposal was a lot better.
That's fair. That's fair. It's two of America's sweethearts, so I get it.
Yeah. Well, so is Year One. Jack Black and
Michael Cera. And I think at least 3 of the people we named are Canadians. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So actually, I think just 2 of them. Anyway, let's move on.
Well, Ivan Reitman, director. I like his son. Is his son Jason Reitman?
Yeah.
He does a lot of stuff I like.
Yeah, he does
like Tully. This year's Tully.
Yeah, and I always talk about Young Adult. I like Young Adult.
Young Adult. Up in the Air I liked quite a bit.
So,
Juno.
Getting back to old
did
Papa.
He do Juno?
Yeah, I think he did. Getting back to Papa Reitman. Just saying.
Yeah. Continue saying.
What's funny about that ghost oral sex scene is it's subtle enough where I remember as a kid not understanding it. I thought they were just being like fresh. They were just having something, but I didn't get that it was oral sex.
Yeah.
So seeing that as an adult, I definitely laugh a lot because
it's not like subtle.
No, but
there's
it's
an unbuttoning of.
They don't show a dick and it's a ghost.
No, they don't. Yeah.
So it's subtle enough where you're just like, it might be tickling him. When you're like 6, that's what you're thinking, you know?
I guess you don't see completion.
Yeah.
And they don't really talk about it.
I think once you hit like 12, you would understand that completely.
Yeah.
And what was this? What was the original Ghostbusters rated?
R. I don't know. Let's a guess. It came out the same year as Temple of Doom, so that'd be ahead of PG-13, right? Because we went over that in our Indiana Jones episode where Temple of Doom was so like the pulling out of the heart and stuff. It had parents so outraged that it sort of spawned the invention of PG-13, right?
Yeah, that's true. I think it was either. Did we decide that was before or from the response to it?
It was from the response to it, and then a Patrick Swayze movie as well.
That's right.
I don't remember which one though. Maybe Red Dawn. I don't know.
I'm just trying to see if there's a official rating for it.
It was PG, wasn't that?
For this one?
Yeah,
PG? I think it is.
Yeah.
IMDb gives way too much info when you search that. So.
And they don't change a rating. Like they don't retroactively make movies PG-13.
Yeah.
Like Jaws is PG.
That makes sense.
And it probably PG-13 at least in today's standards.
Yeah.
But
yeah, this the original concept also involved like a futuristic setting.
I could see that.
And it was going to be 3 main characters: John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, and Eddie Murphy was the original idea. And it was going to be in the future. They're going to wear SWAT outfits and use wands instead of guns. And they're going to have SWAT helmets. And it was going to be a national chain of ghost busting places. And they were just one of the ones.
That would be a fun sequel or reboot idea.
Yeah, so there's a lot of
ideas.
Cool, fun ideas that I think would not have worked at this early in the 80s. And then also in an alternate universe, this movie probably exists and might be as beloved as this one. But we didn't get that one. We got this one. And this one is, like we said, already beloved.
This one has a lot of like fun tech, like the guns they use don't cross the beams, the ectoplasm like storage center.
It has
all that. And it seemed that they're kind of remnants of an idea where it was very futuristic when you wouldn't have to explain those things. And here they still don't really explain them and it's fine.
Yeah, it's
like,
great.
It's foreign enough that you don't need an explanation for how it works.
And by the time they start talking about it, they've already established that they're like college professor genius level people. Yeah. So then when they start talking about it, it's like in Star Trek, you don't question if they say tachyon. You're like, I don't know what tachyon is, but they obviously do.
Well, you don't know what a tachyon is?
I don't. But in this, they say our proton packs and all this, and they refer to it, and they have full understanding of it, and that's good enough for us. Yeah. There's points where they do describe things to like City Hall and
but
stuff.
It's never like... Yeah. There's no like science basis to it.
No,
like in Arrival, they're doing crazy things, but there's like a backing of science and it fits that movie. Here, you don't need it.
Yeah, exactly.
It just needs to serve the action.
It takes the fantasy of the paranormal and puts science to it.
Yeah.
And the way they serve it up, it's right. I love the scene where they have to deal with like City Hall and stuff like that. This movie, a lot of it was a full written script. Although the original treatment apparently was half visual with sketches because Dan Aykroyd was trying to get things across. They finally wrote it out into a full screenplay and then proceeded to almost every single scene is improv. Like there's a lot of lines that are just ad-libbed. And especially with Bill Murray, they would just kind of let him cut loose because he's known for being that good of an ad-libber.
I bet you the we came, we saw, we kicked its ass was ad-libbed.
Probably. Yeah. I know there's a line where they're dealing with City Hall. That's what I was going to bring up. And Bill Murray has like a famous little exchange thing.
Yeah, it was something about like, it's true. He does have a small penis or something like that. Yeah,
and it's pure Bill Murray. It's like I'm laughing way too loud every time I see that scene just because it's so him. And
Bill Murray barely acts, it feels like, in this movie.
Yeah, he's
like
just
it's just
Bill
him.
Murray.
It's just the comedian he always is.
Yeah, exactly.
And it works.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that he was like as revered or as esteemed a professor as the other two, because the other two are very much intellectual, and he seems like a borderline shyster.
Oh yeah, he
is. Like your introduction to the character, he is running a quote unquote experiment for the like the physical response to ESP, like with electrocution, but he's like tricking the guy, and then like cute co-ed that's part of the test, he's like saying like, oh, you definitely have ESP, we definitely need more sessions.
What's interesting,
like but it sets the tone for him as a hustler at best.
Yeah, and so they definitely give you that. But then I was thinking about that scene again, and that almost is a better way to test in a way. The part of him trying to get a date out of her is very very shady, and I'll admit that. But then constantly testing the person who is showing psychic aptitude but not letting them know they're being successful, I think like there is some scientific aptitude behind it.
Yeah.
So I love that scene because it both shows him doing a test, but also trying to get laid at the same time, and that's pure Venkman.
Yeah,
I mean,
I didn't get the vibe that there was like a real experiment that he was actually interested in recording the results from there.
I mean, I think he definitely is intrigued by it, that it's still working, but he doesn't care enough because he's more driven by the date aspect of it. So that's all I'm saying. There's scientific veracity behind the test, but he's taking it this way, and that's kind of how Bill Murray plays that character the whole way through.
Yeah.
So you know, he's hitting on Sigourney Weaver's character the entire time.
Yeah,
Dana, and he's trying to help her, but he's also trying to, you know, hook up with her at the same time. Yeah. But I actually really appreciate how he is not a creep in this movie. When it comes down to it.
When it comes down to it,
well,
he's not.
He plays off, you know, this very slimy role. But then when she's obviously possessed and trying to have sex with him, he is like, no way. Like, you're going to bed, drink this, call me in the morning, you're fine. Like, he
when
is
his
a complete gentleman, basically.
He did the opposite of a Weinstein.
Yeah, and I appreciate that a movie in the 80s, or so many 80s movies, like if you ever go back and revisit Revenge of the Nerds, there's sexual assault just written into the script, and it's celebrated.
And it's laughed at.
Yeah.
Like, in a good way.
Yeah.
Not in a good way.
For them,
it
in a way, for the audience, it's horrifying in many ways. But yeah, so I appreciate that.
Or like us watching Young Frankenstein, even.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this one ages fine in that sense. There is none of that, and that's great.
Speaking of aging, I'm curious what you think of the visual effects, because not every effect works for me now, but there are some that still look really great.
Yeah. Some of the ghosts work really, really well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like the first ghost in the library that they run into.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Amazing.
Today.
Yeah.
But then like the dog thing.
Yeah.
That
if it's
it looked like a
it
Gumby,
looks better, but when it's
like claymation.
When it's interesting because I like how they filmed it with it jumping on things and stuff, and how it's animalistic, but it doesn't look real.
Yeah, it doesn't have like this direct moving in the frame. Where you're like watching and noticing how off it looks. It'll always like jump out of the screen or jump across your screen, and so that's good. That's a good way to use the camera and the cinematography to. Not to like exploit the possible I'm not sure, like the unrealisticness of it.
Yeah, basically they're
you don't dwell on these things, and it helps the movie age.
The camera doesn't linger enough long on those parts where you're like, that looks terrible.
Yeah.
So then later on, when you have like Stay Puffed, Marshmallow Man, obviously that's like miniature work combined. That looks great. Some of the
explosions and stuff that were happening looked pretty bad. Yeah, like because
I was gonna say some of the energy stuff doesn't look as good.
Yeah, they'll have like the fire in like the foreground, and then like the actors are like, whoa, like it looks like something we would film with no budget.
So,
but if we filmed an explosion for anything, I would let you set me on fire.
Cool, it's on record now.
Wait.
But yeah,
it was nominated for Best Visual Effects, by the way.
That makes sense. I mean, at the time, I can't think of too many films that could rival it.
Well, the winner that year was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Well, that one had good visual effects.
Yeah.
I think this one's better as a film and visually.
Oh, as a film, it's definitely better.
Visually, though, as well. Yeah.
Some of the effects are better here. Some of them aren't. It's a mixed bag.
Who else went against it that year?
That's all I looked up.
Okay, that's fair.
Actually, let's see if I still have that tab open. I don't. I just looked up the winner. It also was nominated for Best Original Song.
Yeah. So that's the famous Ghostbusters theme.
Yeah.
Which is titled Ghostbusters, and I feel there was a lawsuit with it.
Who performed it?
Ray Parker Jr.
Well, it lost to Purple Rain. So,
I don't think if you're going to lose, that's what you want to lose to. Yeah, so there was a lawsuit regarding Ray Parker Jr. plagiarizing the Huey Lewis and the News song, I Want a New Drug.
Well, it's funny because listening to it, I was like, this sounds a lot like music from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
There's Huey Lewis and the News on there.
Yeah.
Like The Power of Love is the main song in
iconic from Back to the Future. So.
And so I kept thinking, I was like, oh, I didn't know Huey Lewis did this song.
Yeah.
Like I legitimately thought that. That's why I asked you.
I mean, it's if you play them back to back, it's pretty clear. Yeah. So sometimes you hear
they have similar voices too. That's the thing. Like not just the like makeup of the song, but the actual voices are similar.
Sometimes when you hear these plagiarism cases, you're like, okay, like
like the Ed Sheeran one for using like a chord that was in this other. I don't even.
It's
know.
like eventually we're gonna hit a space where some chords just sound alike.
Well, there's only so many chords, right?
I don't know. I'm not musically inclined.
Me neither.
I can't speak.
So here's let me get to this point. There's only so many chords, meaning there's only so many combinations of chords. So eventually, it stands to reason that we'll get to a point where all music has already been written.
For things that sound good, but think of numbers. Replace chords with numbers and say that sentence.
Yeah, but numbers we know are infinite.
Maybe the same with chords.
Yeah, but
there's a lot of math behind music.
I was positing that there is a finite number of chords.
Two things that confuse me.
That was the posit.
Music, math.
Boom.
Boom.
That's my next podcast idea. I write songs that explain math to kids. You tell me if they help.
Write math that explains music.
Write math.
So music's all numbers, buddy.
Music.
Because I don't get it.
Well, speaking of numbers, let's get to them numbers.
Let's do them numbers, bruh.
$30 million budget.
Nice.
Not
For the
bad.
80s, that's
what was the 2016 Ghostbusters budget? I'm going to guess 125. No, 90. 90 to 125 million.
Looks at a 144.
Holy shit, man. I haven't seen the new Ghostbusters, but I can't imagine it was worth it.
This claims it made 229.
So it probably did not make money then, because the budget is only the production budget. We've talked about it before. And generally, they spend about the same on distribution and marketing and all that. Yeah. But anyways, this had a $30 million production budget, and it made domestic $242 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Comparatively here, that tells you a lot.
Yeah, and that doesn't even count, like you said in our get-go here, which isn't a thing, but comic books,
secondary
T-shirts, all this other stuff. It's made another industry term. Last time we introduced you to a heavy hitter. This one made buco bucks.
Oh yeah.
Which there was an economist, Thomas Buco. He was from Switzerland, and he came up with a formula for how to determine something that is a quote unquote true profit.
Is buco different than buku?
I don't know what buku is, so I'm talking about Thomas Buco.
I know buku bucks.
I don't know buco bucks.
I'm spelling that a lot different. Buco is the French word.
Buco. That's what I'm saying. Thomas Buco.
But I think it's buku.
I'm telling you, Thomas Buco, the Swiss cinema economist.
Oh, yeah, because that's coup. That's right. It's buku. I see. I mean, it's not buku bucks. It's buku bucks. That's what I was thinking of. But this Swiss guy, go on.
I mean, you've let me go on far too long. And then instead of changing the subject, you kind of double down into this thought path. And I don't know how we're going to get out.
We're going to get out by using the fire pole to climb outwards, which is not how you use fire poles, but that's what we're doing.
You could use a fire pole that way.
It'd be real strong.
Yeah, like American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, for sure. What moments do you really like in this movie?
The only character whose name I remembered before writing everything down here was Walter Peck, who plays the EPA representative.
Yeah.
I don't know why. He's not very memorable. He's an antagonist in a sense.
Yeah.
Because he's not like a villain throughout the movie, but he just comes in and he's like, you have to shut down because we don't know what you're doing and it's having this effect, this effect, this effect. And then the government comes in and they do shut it down and it ends up releasing the all the bad.
Would you consider him an OTG?
I
recognize him from a lot of 80s works.
Wasn't he a principal in something?
He might have been. He was in Die Hard, I want to say. He's the slimy
the boyfriend
dude.
Or whatever?
Yeah.
Not boyfriend,
dude. He might
but the slimy coworker.
I really didn't remember, but
he wasn't John McClane, so
exactly.
Slimy. But yeah, like you've definitely seen him in things.
Yeah, I'm looking here. He's in Biodome, Die Hard 1 and 2. He is in The Last Samurai. He's in The Girl Next Door. He's all over the place in weird things. He had some TV work too. It looks like a lot of appearances and stuff. Yeah. But you would recognize him mostly from this film, I think.
Once you see, like, if you watch Ghostbusters again, and once Walter Peck's introduced, like, oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah. He has a very punch him in the face kind of look to him.
Well, his character is very punch him in the face here too.
Yeah.
But
I think my
I would punch him in the
favorite
face for sure.
character, besides our Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
is Louis Tully.
Yeah, that's Rick Moranis. He plays Dana's neighbor. I didn't know Rick Moranis was in this. Like, I didn't have memory of his character.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to see Rick Moranis.
Yeah, he took a big break from cinema, and I don't know if he's actually back yet.
He's in the midst of a big break, I believe.
Yeah, he's in it. His wife died of cancer right around when he made Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and so he bowed out from acting to raise his kids.
Yep.
And I mean, obviously, he's made enough films that have made a huge amount of money, but I think he's kind of an understated comedic force in this movie because everything he said, I was dying laughing at.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And a lot of the party scene was ad-libbed mostly by him because he's the main person in the party scene where it's a continuous shot. We always talk about
that's true. Yeah.
You don't need to make flashy stuff, but the continuous shot is usually cool.
Yeah.
This is the perfect time for a non-flashy continuous shot where it's just showing a party. It's showing a guy mingling.
An accountant mingling.
An accountant who, instead of inviting his friends, invited only clients because he could write it off, which is the most accountant
it's
thing
like the
ever.
most when I think of accountants, I don't think of like the scummy accountant. You think of like a very ho-hum average job, but like he played up like a very scummy kind of accountant.
He played scummy, but he was also like kind-hearted in a sense. Like he wasn't a predator.
Yeah. The whole like, I can write this off, like that's kind of scummy.
And so it's a good dynamic there, and just the lines he's saying, like this is Bradley. He does this, and he's like introducing people in a business way. Yeah. It's so funny.
Like in the way, like the tax statements that file.
Yeah.
And he's like, when he's talking to Dana, he's like, I know you're doing your own taxes. You shouldn't. You can still come to the party. What I love is there's this whole thing, and it doesn't really matter for the plot of the movie, but like when the characters get possessed, I forget what Dana said, but she's constantly looking for the keymaster.
Yeah.
And he is the keymaster.
Yeah.
But one of the recurring gags of the movie is he gets locked out of his apartment like 5 times. But he's the keymaster. Put
that together. That's really funny.
I thought it was funny like immediately.
Yeah, no, that is really funny. I've never noticed that, but that's because I've probably been watching it, like I said, way too much since I was a kid. So
it's just like one of the things in there. Yeah.
I like the, obviously everyone always does quotes the, are you a god? Next time someone asks if you're a god, say yes, that whole thing. But I just like that, like they do there's kind of like she asks him if he's a keymaster when Venkman comes to the door and he says no, so she closes it. Then he does the same thing and he says yes, and she just lets him in. Like I love stuff like that where it's just, for us, it's very nonsensical, but for somebody who's, like a god who can't recognize what a mortal would look like, it's like, whatever. I don't know this from the other. It'd be like if 2 squirrels ran up to you, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, probably.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Right.
So it just has that kind of mentality to it. So and for us, it plays up as comedy.
That's kind of how most of the comedy is in the movie. Like, there's not like a bunch of ruckus gags where you're going to be like knee slapping and like choking on your Sprite and stuff. But there's a lot of like very understated humor throughout where like Venkman is a dry, sarcastic character throughout. So the vast majority of his lines aren't like a one-liner or a pun or something. He just says something that's so dry or self-deprecating that it's like funny, but it's just like a chuckle. At least for me, it was. Yeah. And that's how all the characters are.
Yeah. And you have
like the closest thing to a big comedic gag is the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah.
But even that, like, it becomes so like grotesque and monstrous that it's not like a lingering humor to it. Like, it's funny when it happens, and it's like such an iconic moment now. But like, I had little laughs throughout, but it wasn't big laughter. Like when we watch like Scott Pilgrim, there's moments in there where like there'll be recurring gags multiple times, like the vegan police and all that, where it's all serving the gag. Where in this movie, it all serves just overall like Ghostbusters kind of story. So it's like there's comedic moments to this general paranormal story.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite deliveries is actually Harold Ramis's Egon Spengler. Like all of his jokes he says, because they're even drier than Venkman's. Like they're for sure they're just kind of one-off statements half the time. And I'm drawing a blank on ones from this. Like I said, I've watched both this one and the sequel so many times, but in the sequel I remember they're talking about kids' toys at one point, and Spengler says, like, growing up my parents didn't let me have toys. He's like, well, actually I got a slinky once. He's like, I straightened it. And that's just his comment about it. And like that's stuck in my head since I was a kid because it's so funny because it's just like it plays to his dryness so well. But in this one, Annie Potts, who we've barely mentioned.
She plays the receptionist.
Receptionist Janine. she is constantly hitting on Egon Spengler, and it's so overt in a funny way that she's like basically saying like, come take this whenever you want, and he barely acknowledges it, except for brief moments. He looks like he's like kind of pleased with it. But so I like how they keep that just kind of simmering there, but never do anything with it. It's just kind of
at the end, don't they embrace?
She might, I
think she like jumps into his arms. I don't know if they like make out or anything, but they make a point of showing that during that like end parade sort of scene.
So it's I mean they speaking of the end parade, like you said, there's the Stay Puft.
It's not really a parade, but
it's a celebration. But basically, everyone knows this film. Everyone knows the giant marshmallow guy comes out, unless you're my wife and you think it's Slimer who comes out.
Is Stay Puft an actual marshmallow brand?
I don't think so. I think it was just made for this.
I wonder if the current one, like the newest Ghostbusters, has like real product placement like that.
Yeah, so I don't think it is.
That's fine.
But it feels real. That's the thing. Like you don't question it.
And you do see the brand throughout the movie.
Yeah,
they make a point of showing it, like at the party, I think, and at a couple other places you see a bag of marshmallows, Stay Puft marshmallows.
And what's cool about that, it goes back to the technology you mentioned where they don't explain it. They never say like, I'll have some hot cocoa with only Stay Puft because that's the one I like. Like it's nothing
that's so on the nose.
Yeah. So it's just in the background. It's just there, and then it becomes an issue.
It's like in Catch Me If You Can. There's one scene where Christopher Walken wakes up young Leo, and he's just got like Flash comics everywhere. And then he is telling the FBI guy that he's Barry Allen and stuff, and then it becomes a point again where if you never paid attention to that, the point still makes sense, but the details there for second watches or the very observant eye.
And then when they do bring it up, it comes up later in that movie, and then the casual viewer who doesn't know the Flash will figure it out. And this one, they do the same thing. When they finally explain Stay Puft towards the end, it's where you're like, oh, okay. Like, and even he's not supposed to think of it, and he thinks of it. That's all you need to know.
Even without the explanation, there's so many like brands like that are always stuck in your head that you can think of. Like Max, the brand that's on your head, the mascot is...
right now, I was actually thinking about Big Boy, the Big Boy burger chain, because I was just in Detroit and saw one up there.
Okay, yeah.
And
did you eat a Big Boy?
No. But then the design of how it looks in the cartoon version makes me think of that kind of
I can see that.
So that was the first thing on my head.
Yeah. I was thinking of the Geico Gecko.
That'd be crazy if that came out huge.
Yeah.
He's all British and shit.
Yeah. Like, blimey. Blimey, how about that insurance? He destroys a building. He's like, hope you had renter's insurance, oi? That's British.
God. I like it. I think you might be the new face of Geico. In your Gecko form.
Geico.
Australian for beer.
Oh, man. Did you see the 2016 Ghostbusters?
I have added it to my queue on like 8 different platforms and never watched it.
Yeah, I told myself, like, you know what, I'll watch it for this.
I know a lot of people who liked it, and then I know a lot of people who said it was just fine, but it wasn't anything.
I don't know anybody who saw it. I'm sure I know people who saw it, but nobody's mentioned it to me.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of faded from discussion after the initial...
Well, there was such a... not violent.
Like
there was such a... there was such a outburst of... like controversy, quote unquote controversy, where people were upset. I can understand being upset that they remake it. Like if they remade Back to the Future, I would be upset. Yeah, but then there was the people who were upset that they remade it with women, like that they did the gender swapping. Like
it comes down to everything, man. I always say nuance is what we're missing from society because of things like social media makes it simplified. So you have people who genuinely had issues with The Last Jedi, and that is A-okay. Then you have people, you have people who hated it because there was a Asian main character and a black main character, and females made better decisions in the film than men, and women made better decisions in the film than men.
They're females and men.
But all those people get drummed up with people who have legitimate issues with any film, which is fine, man. Like I said, Suspiria is a classic, but I had issues with it. But when you have this like toxic group and then a normal group, it sucks for the normal group because then you just get sucked in there.
Yeah. And you just get grouped in.
Yeah. So then with something like this, like, if someone told me they were remaking, which I think they actually are thinking of remaking Coming to America, I'm like, okay, there's a couple ways you can take that where it might be interesting, but why? Exactly. Why not just make your own movie that has inspiration drawn from it, but is different? But at the same time, like if you're going to franchise something and keep making it, you can change things. I don't have issues with that. Just make it good. I mean, when it comes down to it, just make it good.
Yeah, make it good. Make it respect the original, or make it totally standalone.
Yeah.
Like, I would love if the 2016, instead of being a remake, if one of the things was that Ghostbusters was like a dying franchise, like there were branches all over the place and stuff like that. That'd be
concept.
A funny idea, I think, because then you could have like a Ghostbusters corporate and things like that.
And you could easily work on the original characters that were still alive.
Yeah, you could be on like the board.
I think it would actually. That's a fun idea, because then you could do something almost like The Office, where they have since we're watching it, it's fresh in my head. Where Dunder Mifflin's always going through issues because paper as an industry is dwindling.
Yeah.
Bring some of those concepts in there. Yeah, like ghost hunting isn't as big anymore. And you could still use the same all-female cast. It would still work. Like Melissa McCarthy could be a Michael Scott type of character.
You could say like gentrification has caused ghosts to go downhill because these old buildings are getting destroyed. There's not as many hauntings.
There you go. Like there's so many ways they could have taken it as a pure sequel.
Yeah.
Instead of this, because it was a reboot.
Yeah.
From what I understand. And like the characters, some of the main actors, original actors, like Dan Aykroyd appears, but he's like a taxi driver or something.
Yeah.
I don't think he's supposed to be the same person.
No, he's not the same. I don't know if he is or not, but
so
I would think he wouldn't be the same character. But like, it's just, I was down on it, but I don't care about the whole all women versus all men thing. Yeah. I just didn't think it looked funny, and I didn't know why they remade it.
Yeah, to me, it's like the photography in the trailer. Like it didn't look how Ghostbusters should look.
Yeah.
Like
you always talk about
contrast and grain.
And you talk about Ghostbusters shows like the kind of grimy side of New York very much.
Yeah, and this looked very sanitary.
Yeah. Well, most modern movies do.
Yeah. And it was such a clean image in it, and it's missing some of the charm from back in the day. But
you know what? Let's remake Ghostbusters.
Yeah, the 2016 one.
We had that idea with the franchise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who are our leads? Josh Gad. Welcome. You know what? That's it.
We're doing across the board.
Yeah, dude. Just 4 Ghostbusters. Who are G-Busters going to be in our 2019 version? We got Josh Gad. He's signed up.
Okay, we got Gad.
We're gonna mix it. We're gonna do 2 ladies and 2 men.
Okay, 2 ladies. Let's bring in Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
Should be good.
Sure. Then I want Daniel Day-Lewis. I want a very serious, dramatic actor there.
Okay.
To take it a little too seriously. No, Daniel Day-Lewis is retired, isn't he?
Sure.
You pick another, and then I'll pick an actor. You pick a serious, dramatic actor, and I'll pick another actress for us.
Okay. Let's say Billy Crudup.
Billy Crudup.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got Josh Gad, Billy Crudup, Amy Poehler, and
want to introduce someone in their film debut?
Serena
Williams.
Cardi B.
There we go.
She's probably been in a movie.
Probably.
But yeah, that's your new Ghostbusters team.
Sure. Let's do
it. Harold Ramis. Wait, did he pass away recently?
Okay. Rest in peace, Harold.
Bill Murray. He can be on the board of directors. It's failing.
Yeah.
It'd be very much like Zombieland, Bill Murray,
Yeah.
I don't know. The villain?
Corporate America.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. Call up Ray Parker Jr.
But no, I mean,
it's got a new theme.
There's let's see what else. He can rip off Ed Sheeran.
Yeah. It's rip-offs all the way down.
No, this film, it's fun. It's a classic.
Are you talking about the version we're about to make?
The original one.
Okay, because I like cars.
When you do remake and when you do like make sequels of classic films, you're gonna get blowback. Like it's inevitable.
I guess. But at the same time, there are movies like if the movie's good, I feel like it just works through that. Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. When it was announced, it was like, they're redoing Jumanji. But they put an original twist on it with the whole video game side. And then most of the jokes were around that. There was one scene that referenced the original, and it was a very stupid scene. But beyond that, the movie's fine.
But for that one, I haven't seen it, so I can't speak to the new one.
Yeah.
But it seemed like the concept definitely fit within the original concept, but did its own thing.
The movie could be anything. It could be not a Jumanji.
I'm just saying,
movie.
It's a game that becomes more than a game.
Yeah.
That's when you boil Jumanji down. That's what it comes down to. So that I'm saying that's fine. I'm not disagreeing with
when
you.
When it was announced that they were doing another Jumanji, people were a little upset about that
because you assume it's going to be. For me, I didn't care because I hate the first one, but But when you say they're going to remake anything, most people have a visceral reaction of why, you know?
Just said you hate the first Jumanji.
Oh yeah, I hate it.
You don't like that scene when the monkey kid needs to break into the shed to get an axe, and then he picks up an axe to break the lock, and then he looks at the camera, shrugs, and runs inside?
I don't even remember that scene.
Yeah, it's really good.
I thought it was super depressing, and I hated it.
It's very depressing.
I don't think I laughed like once in that movie.
It's not a comedy.
Is it not? Anyway,
I didn't know we were going to do this today.
Speaking of remakes, there's the Halloween remake out, which some fans are going to love and some fans are going to have issues with. And then you have, Suspiria, which some people are going to be stoked about that, and then some people are going to have issues with it. And I think it's fair. It's fine, like we said, as long as there's the real, not real, but people with valid criticisms. I think you should hear them. You know. So
I think creators should just create.
Yeah.
And I feel like a good young filmmaker, like the guy who did Searching. I don't remember his name, but that's a great movie. It was all him, his idea, his script, everything.
Yeah.
It's not like he's like on the up and coming. He's like, oh man, like I really want to remake Air Bud. No, he's got his own idea.
Yeah.
Let's push those to the forefront.
Yeah.
Even the remakes that I like, Jumanji was fine.
No, I'm always in favor.
Let's just do original man.
Because Ghostbusters itself is an original idea.
Yeah, like what happened in the 2000s that's made us not do originals? I know it's just there's a ton of money in Hollywood, but let's just.
And it's sequels, remakes, reboots, sequels,
there'll
remakes, reboots. Come on.
By 2025, there will be another Ghostbusters movie with a different cast. And everything. Let's
just be glad that Robert Zemeckis has said, while there's blood beating through his heart, they will never remake Back to the Future, and let's research how to make him immortal.
Yeah. And me and a bunch of other avid fans on GoFundMe are working on a technology to, after someone's dead, extract their heart, extract some of their blood, and keep it pumping.
Yeah.
So that through that loophole, we can prevent a remake.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I always jokingly tell people 17 again is the Back to the Future remake if you really want one, because it's not. But I always see Zac Efron has the kind of charm that back in the day he could have carried a remake.
Yeah, Charlie St. Cloud era Zac Efron would have been cast as Marty McFly.
And that one, it has some similar themes. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've seen bits and pieces.
It's a man in his 40s who gets turned back to 17, and he has to fix his relationship. Yeah. So it's not at all time travel for the whole world. It's him. But then it's wacky hijinks. Like he gets his daughter has a crush on him because she doesn't know who he is. So she's trying to seduce him the whole time, and he's trying to teach his son how to be cool. So there's a lot of elements that you can tell were inspired from Back to the Future, but reversed. And to me, it's like, if you're going to make movies that draw from classics, do it that way, take something and put a spin on it.
Originals, but do your own thing still.
Yeah. If you're going to do a remake or a reboot or a sequel, do it like Mad Max Fury Road, Ooh, make a name for yourself.
Nice.
It's one of our nominees.
Yeah, our poll's still open, folks. Come check our polls out.
It's you got to make it where it's good.
Yeah. Just make a good movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Start
make
there.
a good film. Have a good idea. Don't make a sequel just to make money.
What do you
that
think
one also was George Miller who did the original ones. So
what do you think is most likely of the other three to get remade? Jaws, Good Will Hunting, or The Princess Bride?
The Princess Bride.
You think so?
Yeah. Only because I think,
in a way, Jaws has been remade a number of times.
They've made
because they've done so many shark, and they've done so many shark movies, like The Meg.
Yeah.
The Meg is Jaws.
Unless Spielberg himself said, I want to do Jaws again, which he's actually gone on record to say he thinks modern effects would ruin the beauty of Jaws.
Yeah, the beauty of Jaws is the, you don't get to see the shark.
The amount of work they put into not showing you how bad the shark looked in that movie is brilliant. Yeah. And it's something that only Spielberg could do. Yeah. So it's like the opposite of Jurassic Park, where they managed to make it look great, but they still, in the same way, they still held their breath on showing you everything right away.
Yeah.
So that one, it's like, there's just, I don't know. But The Princess Bride, I feel like it's a classic, but enough people, like we said, most people our age group probably see it every couple of years or something.
Every 3 years, you should be watching it.
Yeah. But
doctor's orders.
If you let it slip, it's not a big deal, but it's such like a beloved fairy tale type of movie that I think it lends itself to someone being like, I'm going to remake that.
See, I agree that of all those movies, it's the one most likely to be remade. I don't think it needs to be.
Oh, I agree. 100%.
It's timeless.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is pretty timeless.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be remade.
No.
I watched it on Monday for essentially the first time, and it was good. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, I 100% agree on this whole discussion.
Great.
Guys, cool down.
Let's stop there.
Cool down on them remakes. Let's enjoy the classics, and let's use the classics to inspire us to make our own classics.
You know what? Let's all be better neighbors to each other.
Yeah. If your neighbor turns to a dog, let him to your party, but also help him get better.
If your neighbor's a dog, woof.
Nice.
Max, where can the good people find us?
You can find us chilling down at the library trying to talk to some ghost ladies. Or you can find us at thecriticalbreakdown.com. We're also on Twitter at BreakdownCast. We're on Instagram. If you're going to tweet out about this episode, make sure you use the hashtag BucoBucks. So that way we know how to track your comments.
You could use hashtag Thomas Bucco.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the economist
But you might get into some economics discussions then.
You definitely will.
You can find me chilling with Annie Potts from Ghostbusters, trying to get her to seduce me while I talk about science. Or you can find me on Twitter at Max Rivera Film.
You can find me participating in ESP experiments. Shock therapy ESP experiments, or you can find me on Instagram at breakdown_Scott. There's a very cute picture of my dog who just turned 2. Happy birthday, Mickey. Named after Marty McFly. Mickey short for McFly. Don't remake Back to the Future. Shoot us an email at podcast@thecriticalbreakdown.com. Our music's done by Jason Brown, not to be confused with Hugo Lewis.
Our artwork is done by Josh Rivera, not to be confused with Ray Parker Jr.
Yeah, definitely not. Walter's the podcast Slimer.
And we're the podcast Ghostbusters. Next week on The Critical Breakdown.
You thought Halloween was done. Boo! We're doing a Halloween special on Halloween with our Halloween guest, Kara, next week.
Join us.
Boo!
Join us or die.